Mhm. Way, that was weird. I was really getting into that intro, and damn, can we just roll that for another half an hour? Because that is epic. I am Dean. I'm not sure if I have audio. Tyler, speak to me so I know that I do.
Hello, Dean. How's it going?
It's going pretty well now that I have audio. This was a really fun episode. Um, it's just us two tonight. We got Josh behind the scenes. What if Sean gave a shit? We'll never know. Um, if you want more comedy gold like that, go follow me on Twitter where I make the exact same joke. Anyway, we have What if Killmonger saved Tony Stark in Afghanistan? And I didn't know what to expect from this one. You know, a majority of the episodes, like based on the synopses beforehand, like it was, it was pretty obvious, like generally where they were going to be going, or at least like what the journey would be like, even if it wasn't obvious exactly where they were going
Yeah,
to be going. But this one I thought was a bit of a curveball. It's like I don't know if I see this connection, even for like a what if. Um, and I was pleasantly surprised. Tyler, how are you feeling?
I really like this episode. I'd say it's definitely a strange pairing, uh, Killmonger and Tony Stark. But I like seeing
Yeah,
a different direction for Tony, as in a slightly different direction for Killmonger. He kind of
yeah,
still achieves the same thing.
yeah. That was fun because one of my like for the first kind of half of this episode, I'm thinking like I kind of had the same thing with Thanos, right? In the Guardians episode, where
Hmm.
it's like really he's kind of like changed his whole philosophy on outlook on life based on like this tiny thing that really didn't even happen to him. And then as we get into the episode, it's like, oh no, this is the same fucking guy. Like he's got the same
Yeah,
goal, and he's just got a much more kind of twisted, nefarious version of how he wants to go about this using, he's kind of like a villainous social climber in a way. Like he's met Tony Stark, um, and then he's just immediately, internally in his head, he's just figured out, okay, how can I now play this situation and this new, set of relationships to my advantage, and to get the exact same um, outcome. And or well, I say exact same. He's actually
yeah.
pretty successful this time.
He's really good at what he's doing.
He really is. Um, I mean, when this episode started, to back it up a little bit, I'm thinking, oh man, it's kind of one of my hang-ups is like we know these movies. The whole premise of this show is based on on the presumption that we know these movies really well, and some of them I feel like have felt the need to like recap a little bit too much up top. So
Hmm.
when we open with Tony Stark in the back of the SUV or whatever, I'm thinking, oh, we got to go through all this again, because I didn't think Killmonger was going to show up until later on. I kind of envisioned the scenario where Tony Stark was still going to get as far as the cave, and then Eric was going to show up. I don't know if that's just me or if that's what you was
I
expecting.
remember in one of the trailers we saw, there's a shot of when he picks up the missile and throws it. So I figured
All
he'd
right,
show up pretty soon.
okay, I didn't see the trailer, so I'm thinking like we're going to get like a whole like half of an Iron Man movie before we get
Yeah,
into the meat of this. And then the way he just shows up, don't even get don't even get the explosion to the chest. Nothing. He just shows up. Boom. Comes straight back. Medal of Honor. You know, we get that same press conference. Um, what did you think of the voice actor for Tony Stark? We've had him. We had him in like small chunks in a couple
Yeah.
of the other episodes, but we get a lot of him, and I wasn't a fan of him or the voice acting in the previous bits we got, but he really brought it in this episode. Is that just me?
I think he's a lot better in this episode, especially because we get more of him this episode.
Yeah,
But I still wish it was RDJ, especially
of course.
when they show the in-game scene when he snaps.
Yeah, you can tell a bit more there. But I kind of feel like if you're a voice actor, right, and you get the role of Tony Stark, I think that SUV scene and the press conference
Yeah,
scene are probably like two of the quintessential scenes that I would imagine you would visit to try and, especially for the time period of the Tony Stark that we're getting.
and
Um,
it's not like this guy doesn't know how to play Tony Stark. He does it in a lot of the cartoons and stuff, so he's got it down. It's just there's a small difference. And I mean everyone else is pretty spot on.
yeah,
I mean
I,
we get the voice cast, the original voice cast for most of the characters except for Tony, Obadiah, Pepper, Ross, and Shuri. Those are the only ones who are different voices than in the movies.
oh man, I thought we had William Hurt in this. Oh man, I was wrong about that. And yeah, and I thought it was Jeff Bridges as well. I was like, man, how did they get Jeff Bridges for like two lines? Um, I mean, Jeff Bridges, he's pretty chill. He probably would have done it, but I don't know if
Probably.
they. But I'm trying not to get. We're like over halfway through this show, this season now. I'm trying not to get too hung up on the who didn't come back and the politics of why, and if it's financially motivated or creatively, or they just don't care, like Sean.
Yeah.
They just didn't want to.
Just like Sean.
We need to get one of these voice actors to do a Sean. To get the Obadiah Stane guy. Let's get old grizzled variant Sean. I'll see if I can book Jeff Bridges for next week. I'll Josh, get on that. Hit him up. Get in touch with you. Get your, as they say in this episode, get your people to get in touch with his people. Anyway, there's a whole lot of like PR stuff going on, um, which is great. Um, Killmonger looking fly in that white suit and all
Oh
those
yeah, he's looking
medals.
really good. And I like
I mean,
that the second someone is like Pepper and Happy are suspicious of him, he's like, well, yeah, I knew about the attack, but guess what? It was Obadiah who set it up. It was
I
him, and
love
here's
that.
all the receipts.
Yeah, because I was thinking as soon as they rouse suspicion, I'm thinking they should really, and especially later on, they should be suspecting him. But and then I'm thinking, what if he knows, like if he's smart enough to know that this attack was going down and everything else, like he must know that it's Obadiah, right? And like he's going to be busted earlier than what is it earlier or is it later? Earlier, I guess, for Stain getting outed, at least as far as like Pepper and Tony finding out,
Yeah,
and that is that's great stuff.
because that
Um,
means that the Avengers guy doesn't have to get involved. I forget his name.
through
Uh,
Coulson, yeah,
Coulson. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it might have been cool to see him actually. I didn't think of that, because he would have been circling this situation potentially. Um, although I don't know if he only gets involved because of the. No, he's around in the movie before they know it's Stark as Iron Man, right? So
Yeah, because they're
he's
trying to
probably
talk to him
watching.
about the Avengers.
Yeah, which is really preemptive now that we think about it. I mean, that's maybe a discussion for another episode or something. But
Yeah,
as we see in the other episode with Fury and everything, like he was eyeing up these these Avengers to be Avengers before they even knew they were going to be Avengers. Black Widow, Hawkeye, they didn't even know they were on the list. So, you know, maybe Fury's in cahoots with the Watcher.
probably.
I could see that relationship. Give me that buddy cop movie. I really want it. So Obadiah Stane gets outed, and then we get this really unexpected but really cool relationship that develops between Eric and Tony. Like they're hanging out in the workshop, in the garage, they're eating pizza, having drinks together, kind of just bouncing off of each other with these ideas. And you can kind of see how, even though Tony Stark doesn't get as far as building the Iron Man, you can still see he's got some of these nuggets of
Yeah,
thought that are kind of like heading in that direction, coupled with Eric, who's like, yeah, man, I got some ideas. We need to like straighten some shit out. There's a lot of stuff going on here. And then we get we get this great line of, oh, so you want to build some Gundams? And
yeah,
Killmonger says, well, I'm an anime fan, so
yeah. I
what?
like it. I like anime. What of it?
Which, as far as I'm concerned, because there's this whole discourse when Black Panther came out, it's all the memes of, is Killmonger wearing the Vegeta Saiyan armor from Dragon Ball Z? It looks very similar. As far as I'm
Yeah, it's very
concerned,
much similar.
this episode canonizes the fact that Killmonger was inspired by Dragon Ball Z and designed that armor accordingly. Like he must have done, right? He's an anime fan. He's seen Dragon Ball
Yeah,
Z. That's
he's
that
had to have.
that resemblance is no longer a coincidence, and that is cold hard fact that Killmonger was a Vegeta stan, and that makes me so happy. But anyway, then they need the power source, right,
Yeah.
to make the robot.
And Tony's
And
immediately like, "Yo, what if I make a mini arc reactor?
it's like,
That'd be pretty
yeah,
good."
it's like, nah, stupid idea. That's not going to work. And then Kilman's like, well, I've got an idea. There's this stuff called vibranium, and we kind of get, this is one minor nitpick, and it's one of only a couple that I have for this episode. But Stark says, "Oh, my dad used the last of the vibranium in World War II," and then 2 seconds later, he's like, "But I know a guy who can get some more." It's like, I don't know. Is that too nitpicky? Did
I
that
think
occur to you?
is Tony the one who suggested going to Claw? I thought that was
Yeah,
Eric who did
Tony
that.
Stark says he knows a guy because they establish in Age of Ultron. Tony Stark says that he's had dealings with Claw in the past. Um, so it then kind of implies that Stark knows about Wakanda. He knows about vibranium. He knows a lot more about that than has been let on both earlier on in this episode and obviously previously in the MCU. So I feel like that was maybe a little bit of a retcon.
Might
Well, not a
be.
retcon because we're in an alternate
Yeah.
timeline, but it was a little bit possibly inconsistent. Like, why was he
Yeah,
not?
I'm looking at the scene again. It's definitely a weird line if you
Yeah,
thought your dad used the last of it.
yeah. He literally says those two lines like back to back. Basically, he's like, "My dad used the last of it, but I know a guy who can get some." I'm paraphrasing. Um,
And
but
then
then we
they
do,
immediately go to the plan, which is to send Rhodey in there as a liaison to get to do the black market deal.
yeah, which is very reminiscent of like the scene we get in Age of Ultron, right, where Claw's at this like plant place where he's keeping stockpiles of vibranium. And we get some great Claw lines in this. Is it Circus? I'm not sure if it's Andy Circus
It
in
is
this
Andy Circus.
because it had to be because there's a very specific like cadence and delivery to his version of Claw that I don't think many people would be able to pull off. Um, so we get some great stuff, some really good banter, and then they get me, Tyler. They fucking get me. They kill my man Rhodey, and I just I don't know. I should be prepared for it at this point in the season. We literally wiped out all the Avengers in 2 episodes ago, and somehow the Rhodey thing not only catches me more off guard, but also I felt that, man. That was absolutely
and
savage.
they kill T'Challa.
Yes, of course. So
He shows
uh,
up
he
and
shows up, and it kills him with his own fucking glove. Um, just
Using
you
some
know,
some repulsor sonic tech that Stark made.
yeah. So he knows like, which again, it's a little bit weird. It's like, okay, so we can just, you know, it kind of nerves Black Panther a little bit. It's like, okay, both Tony and Eric could have just taken him out at any point with one of these sonic things, you know, either in Black Panther or Civil War, anywhere in that area, they would have had this technology. Um, but I like the impact of it because, you know, because Killmonger's got like, you know, he's got like unresolved shit with T'Challa, right? You know, as we
Yeah.
know
Oh,
from the Black Panther movie. So I think the reason it took me so off guard is because I'm like, oh well, he's not going to want to kill him. He's going to want to like talk to him and like hash some of this stuff out because that's kind of what he wanted to kind of do in the Black Panther, even though he still wanted to like take
yeah.
that throne, but he still wanted to like impart like how he saw the Wakanda and the, you know, the closed borders, the withholding of the technology and stuff. But in this version, he's just like, no, he's
Yeah.
here. I've got the
This
thing.
is
I know this
I
new
know
version
he
of the
I
plan.
know he exists. This is the first time we're meeting, and now I've killed him.
Yeah, because he knows, right? He knows that, like, in this version of the plan, he doesn't need to. He doesn't
No.
need so much of the diplomacy and the philosophy, because he's kind of more like just manipulating. I would
Yeah.
say behind the scenes. He's not behind the scenes. He's fully in the
Very upfront.
spotlight, but he's still like just
Yeah.
hiding in plain sight, and he's just doing this nefarious shit that,
And it's
you
not
know.
like he needs to not like he needs to fight for the throne because T'Chaka's still alive.
Yeah, of course. And you know, he's a fair bit younger here than where
Yeah.
we originally meet him. I forgot, like, I kind of, as this episode plays out, I kind of forgot where we were in the timeline because when Shuri shows up, I'm like, hang on, she's like she's like 10, like it's like a little kid,
Yeah.
and it took me a few moments to kind of adjust to this weird, and it's not. I mean, what is this, like 5 years earlier, maybe than.
When does Iron Man 1 take place?
So this, what, 6, 7 years earlier than when we meet Shuri in Black Panther in the movie, and she's like in her 20s. She would have been like 18. I don't know. I feel like they younged her a bit too much, just to kind of, maybe the point of that was to hammer home, you know, where we are in the timeline and kind of
Yeah.
how far, you know, or you know how far before we are with some of these relationships with the characters. And I always say I found Shuri a little bit annoying, but it just it threw me off. Like, because T'Challa's like the same. He just looks the same. You know,
Hmm.
it's like, did he change that much in that time, and or didn't change that much, and Shuri did? Mm, that's one of the other tiny little nitpicks. I have. There's one more at the end. We'll get there.
What I really like is as someone like Sean would say, Killmonger feels a lot like Palpatine, where he's kind of
Yes,
just he's
yes,
manipulating both sides of this fake war that he's made with General Ross and the Wakandans.
yeah.
He makes the robots, sends them in, and then he fights on the other side, gains their trust, and now he's in with the royal family. I mean, technically he's part of the royal family too, and
Yeah,
now they don't have to like distrust him. Although sure he still does by the end for good reason.
yeah. Like, I thought it was going to go a different way once we get into the battle at the end in Wakanda, because he's like, once the drones come in, they're cut off from Jarvis, right, because of the force field. What were we talking about? 2008. So 8 years. Um, Shuri would be 18 in Black Panther, so she's 10 here. So I was right. At least they accurately portrayed
Yeah,
the age that they wanted her to be, because yeah. Is she only 18 in Black Panther? Man, I thought she was. I mean, I'm assuming that Letitia Wright is a fair bit older in
Probably.
in reality. She's probably closer to like 25, 26.
Because
I
yeah,
would have.
Black Panther would take place right after Civil War, which was in 2016.
Yeah. So Eric is the drones come in, they're cut off from Jarvis, and then he's got like a little control thing and he reactivates them. And I
Yeah,
figured at
he's
that
like, dang, Stark didn't trust anyone. Ain't that
yeah,
crazy, guys?
at this point, like I figured the optimal move for him would have been to because I thought he was just going to turn those drones around on the Wakandans, right, and just take the
Mm,
place by force at that point. Because if he's going to just reactivate them anyway, could and he's the one at this point like programming everything because Tony Stark is dead. We didn't even
yeah,
talk about that.
he just killed
Um,
Tony.
he killed Tony, so Eric's the one programming these drones. So he could have probably set them up so that they didn't deactivate inside the force field and they wasn't reliant on the connection Jarvis to Jarvis
I think
outside.
he really he wanted to give them a reason to open the force field and let the robots in. Because
Yeah,
if we never told them to deactivate, they just wouldn't have opened the gate, and he wouldn't have had to fight at all.
yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, he really is playing like a longer Palpatine kind of game, isn't he? Because
Yeah,
you know, like this is he's acting now. He's like putting on this performance for the Americans, for
yeah.
Shield and Ross, for the
He
Wakandans.
says Wakanda forever like 8 times. Like he's really
Yeah,
into it.
yeah, that was that's my third nitpick. Okay, so like it's no secret that the worst part of Black Panther is the CGI rhinos. And we get the CGI rhinos in here. We got some really epic battles. The action is so great in this final scene. Even like the cinematography, the lighting. We've got all these like yellows and blues, in the background and stuff. And it just looks really great. And then we get the rhino, and he jumps on the rhino, and we've not as far as I'm aware, up until this point in the episode, we've not heard anyone say Wakanda forever. Eric's not heard anyone say Wakanda forever, and they, he's only just met them. He's only just come into the country, and then he just takes that slogan and he just
Yeah.
beats the rhino over the head with it.
Whenever someone in the family's looking at him, he's like Wakanda forever. Yeah.
It, I don't know, just the delivery of that line from him in in those moments felt pretty cartoony, and it
Yeah.
didn't feel earned.
It feels a
Um,
lot like he's trying to really hit home that he's fighting for their side
yeah,
because
but
you can hear in their dialogue they're like, oh, or at least in Shuri's dialogue, she's really heavy handed about it. You gonna let this outsider fight for us? This outsider, he doesn't belong here. And T'Chaka's like, well, he's family. He's one of us.
yeah, I just feel like they were a bit too trusting. Like
Yeah, I mean, for a good
um,
reason. He's not a good person.
based on what we know about them, they've been secluded like forever, right?
Yeah,
And I don't know, I feel like they let him become part of the gang a little bit too easily. And him saying Wakanda forever, you ever had like, it's like a moment where you're with a group of friends and they've all got like an in joke and you don't know about it, but then you try to join in on the in joke,
hmm
just because you're trying to like fit in and bond with them, and it doesn't really work, and it's a bit awkward and uncomfortable, and everyone knows it. That's kind of what this felt like. Um, it reminded me of there's a scene in Kick-Ass 2 where Kick-Ass and his friend they join the what they call Justice Forever, the team, and they kind of do this really lame delivery of like the Justice Forever slogan, and they literally just joined the team like 2 seconds before that, and it's just like, yeah, you're kind of just posers at that point. You're not really there yet, but we'll let it slide because you're enthusiastic. But anyway, let's rewind. Let's talk about Tony Stark because this scene is incredible. Massive RoboCop vibes where we've got the big robot
Yeah,
and he and
Project
kill
Revolution or something
in
crazy.
pro-
Project.
insurrection or something. I don't
Hold
know.
on, I'm just gonna bring it up here. Project or
He's got a project going, guys. Is the moral of this story?
bold bold design choice. He likes anime. What's he called it?
You got like the script there, like page by page.
I just set the episode up. Okay.
Um,
Project Liberator.
Liberator, that's the one. Yeah, I knew it was something like brutal and like on the nose, like really, really direct. So we get the ED-209 S scene where he turns Tony Stark confronts Killmonger, and he's figured it out. He's got Jarvis watching everything,
Yeah.
and rightly so, because like we've been saying, Killmonger is kind of, even though it is a really good and nefarious plan, everyone is kind of getting duped a little bit too easily by this. Like this guy just
Yeah.
rolls in, and once we start stacking up all the things, if he's there for the bomb in the desert, and then he knows the Obadiah Stane, then we've got Rhodey and
Yeah.
um
And he's just
T'Challa are
getting
getting
promotion
murked.
after promotion.
It's like, come on, and every like they're having a press conference like after every death. It's
Yeah.
like we can see that. I mean, now that I'm saying this out loud, though, I mean that's not too dissimilar from like real life politics, right? Like we see certain people in power. We all know that they are probably pieces of shit and probably did some uncouth things to get into those positions. But what can we do? And we got the media says this is your guy. I guess that's the guy. We haven't got anyone else to look at this point. So I can kind of, and it's the same. It's the Palpatine thing as well, right? Like he's right under the Jedi's nose. Like how the fuck does Yoda not see this shit? Um, and in this case, Tony Stark does see this shit. He's got Jarvis. He's got eyes everywhere. He's like using that technology, like the hologram, and recreating the crime
Yeah.
scene right in front of him, and all of this stuff. And Eric don't give a shit. He's
Yeah.
like, I,
Eric's.
I taught this thing how this robot thing is based on how I fight. So now I'm just gonna do crazy shit. I'm gonna throw a chair at it. I'm gonna
Well,
flip
yeah,
over
because
it.
Tony's like, because the robot gets the upper hand at first, and Tony's like, "Well, we trained this robot after you. He knows all your moves." And so Eric's like, "Well, I get time to improvise, I guess." And he takes it down, and then
Yeah,
stabs
man.
Tony in the shoulder.
Like part of me thought that maybe Tony was going to come out on the upper hand there. I thought maybe we're going to get a twist here. Tony's going to take out Killmonger, and then we're going to end up with like now we've got an angry, pissed off Tony who doesn't trust anything and anyone, who's now got a power source for a suit of armor around the world and all that
Hmm.
kind of stuff. And because the way you look at the title of the episode is what if Eric saves Tony. It's not like what if Tony and Eric were like working together. I don't know. It kind of
Yeah,
you could misconstrue the title as like this is a Tony Stark episode as much as it is an Eric Killmonger episode. And so for a second I thought, oh, maybe he's gonna flip the script on him, but no, he jumps over the robot chair, spear, and then impales our main man. No Iron
he
Man here,
says.
guys. Just a fleshy
At least
boy.
he says that he never he never wanted to have to kill Tony. He didn't. That wasn't part of the
Yes,
plan.
I love that because, like I say, I was really digging the relationship, and I felt genuinely heartbroken because I saw it like there unexpectedly. I saw the chemistry with them. I saw them, like I genuinely believe that at that point they could have been friends. And it seems that maybe Killmonger kind of did. feel that way a little bit too.
Hmm.
You know, it's just the weirdest kindred spirits. Like I say, it's just such an off center premise for a title, for an episode.
And then
And
he did what he does. He
yeah,
pinned to death on the Wakandans. General Ross came in, took over Stark Industries, mass produced the
yeah,
robots with the help of Claw, who he kills, and then does what he does in Black Panther, takes his body
brings him
there,
back.
gets
Yeah,
in.
yeah, I love that. There's a few moments like that where they just, you know, those moments, even though they're like completely recontextualized, the moments themselves are just as they are, and it just, you
Hmm.
know, it just speaks volumes to Eric's planning. Like you can tell that he had that original plan that he would have had in Black Panther, and he's just adapted it, you know,
And this time
organically.
his girlfriend didn't have to get killed, I guess. Whoever she was. Remember
I
that?
for,
That was wild.
yeah, I forgot about her, and also the crazy mask thing that he had. That would have been
Oh
cool to
yeah.
see.
The
Um,
Stegosaurus kind of thing he
yeah,
got
like we could
going
have had
on.
like a vibranium metal mech version of that. Would have been fun, but that's fine. He doesn't need it. Andy Serkis, sorry, you're one of the best villains in the Marvel in the MCU, in my opinion. I think he just really just has such a distinct characterization in that role, and he's just destined to die the same way, no matter what happens. But you know, all in the name of a good-ish cause.
Yeah.
So we finished the battle.
Yeah.
The plan has worked, so we think. And then we get the scene, and again, here's another scene that kind of echoes um a scene that we've already had, which is the Pepper in Tony Stark's office from Iron Man 2, right? And Tony
Yeah.
Stark comes in with the strawberries. It's in that office there, except now we've got 10-year-old Shuri coming in.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, for such a secluded nation, how a 10-year-old gets a passport and gets on a flight out of that
Yeah. I was like,
country,
how did she get here? What happened?
that's
Who let
fine.
her in?
I'll buy that. I don't mind that. What I don't buy is that she walks in, she's like, this is dodgy, and Pepper should have seen this shit. Like, if Tony Stark had the the hologram cameras and stuff when T'Challa was killed, surely the office in which Tony Stark was killed. I know they say something about Eric wiped it, but come on, like,
There had to have been like backup somewhere or
come
something.
on, this is Tony Stark.
Jarvis
Like,
is pretty advanced.
he's everywhere. You can't just like delete it from that one hard drive, and
And
that's
Paul
just
Bettany is
wiped.
still killing his Jarvis.
Yeah, it's nice every little hint we get of Paul. But man, it feels like so long ago that we was watching One Division, and I feel like I miss Paul Bettany, and you know, haven't had enough of him in this series. And we got him in the last episode as well with the zombies. Um, but I'm biased, man. I really want to know what happened to White Vision. I'm really itching to see where that plot line goes. But that's in the Prime universe.
We also got the reporter back again. The lady.
Yes.
Her second appearance this series.
Yes. I don't know if it's the original actress.
It
I would
is.
I would imagine it is. Her name is Leslie Bibb. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. She came in and recorded these lines for the Doctor Strange episode and probably this episode. And
Yeah.
there's another one to probably hit them all out in a day.
Yeah. That's got to have been a nice little gig for her, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
haven't seen her in much else. I believe she was um she was Bradley Cooper's girlfriend, I believe, in Midnight Meat Train. It's the only other place I think I've seen her. So this is a tidy little number of a job for her, and she's great. Like, she's one of these characters that we've had in the MCU, you know, since pretty early on, and just really helps like kind of just glue things together, just really kind of just feels like a natural connection. Like she's like the Coulson of the reporter world. And the fact that we know
Yeah.
she's banging Justin Hammer as well, like she literally gets around. Um, so be interesting to see what she does now. No Iron Man, Justin Hammer. I was hoping I thought we might have seen Justin Hammer actually. Um,
That would have been interesting.
it like I thought maybe because the designs of the drones did kind of look similar to what Hammer ends up coming up with in the Expo in Iron Man 2. So I thought maybe there was going to be a little bit of cross pollination of like, well, because seeing as Tony Stark hasn't developed anything, we could maybe we outsource and all of this stuff. But anyway, Leslie Bibby's great, and
Two scenes we skipped. Two good scenes.
bring him on before we
T'Chaka
finish.
and Eric at the mountaintop looking at the sunset.
That's a nice moment. Very
Sort of
nice moment.
mirroring him and T'Challa there, except neither of them are dying.
Yes,
And
always a
then
bonus.
we see Eric getting the serum, the super serum to become the Black Panther, and he goes to the astral plane where I thought we'd go back to the apartment like he did in Black Panther, but he went to
Yeah,
the actual savannah.
yeah, and we get
And
a little
Black
bit of that
Panther's
moment.
there, and he's like, "Was it worth
Yeah,
it?" And he, gives him a little life lesson.
yeah. Which is actually quite reminiscent of the scene we get of Thanos with Gamora, right? When he meets her in the soul realm, and she says
Mm-hmm.
it's very similar dialogues like, "Was it worth it? What did it cost? It cost everything," and all of that stuff. And again, just loving like just those small moments, just completely like different context, different characters, but we're still just like there's these ripples. So like again, sort of like a Star Wars reference, or George Lucas would say they're poetic echoes or whatever it is
Yeah,
he would say, and I love that. How we kind of just there were just certain things that are just there. You can't you can get so far away from a certain situation, but there's these just little things that kind of just remind us of feelings that we've had in other movies, and it doesn't even have to be movies that necessarily relate to these characters, but because we you know have seen those movies and those moments, we have that baggage, and I think this show does a really good job of using that to its advantage, but without like shoving it in your face. Um, what it didn't shove in my face, unfortunately, Tyler, was a particularly satisfying ending to this episode.
yeah. It's just kind of like
It just ends.
other than the Shuri and Pepper being like, we gotta get this guy, and T'Challa, telling him like, yo, this stuff's gonna come back on you at some point. That's that's the end of it. It just ends.
Yeah, and I'll be interested to know, like, again, there's a few episodes have done this in this show now, where it's like what happens after the episode seems like it could be more interesting than the actual episode. Um, but as the show is progressing, I feel like we're gonna find out some of that stuff. I feel like some of these are all gonna kind of tie in somehow.
Yeah, well,
Um,
3 episodes left. So we'll probably get a couple of questions answered,
I hope
if some of
so,
the important ones. Maybe
but I
not like
want.
the zombies one that Sean wants. Probably not anything to do with that.
No, I'm not sure that one fits in so well. But like with Peggy, um, Agent Carter, Captain Carter,
Captain Carter,
Star
uh,
Lord T'Challa.
Star Lord, T'Challa. Dark Doctor
Dark
Strange,
Strange, yeah, and now
and now
definitely like
Killmonger, Black Panther.
yeah, I love
Those
the
those those are ones I've definitely seen in the like Avengers shot for the series.
yeah, which is weird, right? To imagine like this version of Eric and Black Panther like teaming up with because I suppose Dark Doctor Strange is dark, but Captain Carter is pretty fucking wholesome.
Yeah,
Um, and it's like, are we gonna have all these people working together? It's like, because if I'm Captain, even if I'm Dark Doctor Strange, I do not want this Eric Killmonger on my team. I do not trust him. I do not
yeah.
want to trust him. He will make me trust him,
And
even with the
how is
fucking
he gonna
eye.
feel about a T'Challa that's a completely different kind of person? Well, not
That is
completely
a good
different
point.
upbringing. Not he's still kind of the same person.
Yeah, that's going to be fun, right? I mean, he can't hate him because this version hasn't, he's not brought up in like the Wakandan
Yeah,
environment. He hasn't got all of that. He didn't do anything wrong this version. He wasn't even there. He was in space. He didn't fucking know that there was this illegitimate nephew or half brother. I can't remember the family tree
uh,
of it all now.
they're cousins. They're
Cousins,
cousins.
right? Yeah,
Yeah, cause T'Chaka T'Chaka killed his brother, which was Eric's dad.
yeah, that's right. I have not watched Black Panther for a while, man. I haven't watched. I need to rewatch the MCU. Um, I've been talking about it. Um, I think probably a good time. I think I haven't done it since I the build up to Infinity War. I watched them all. I think that was the last time I watched a lot of these movies. Some of them I saw so many times that
I might give
it
him a
feels
rewatch
unnecessary. Yeah,
once Black Widow hits Blu-ray or something.
I think that's out now. Um, if not, it is very soon. Um,
It should be soonish.
I I was not a fan of Black Widow. I was having a
It was an
conversation
okay movie.
with somebody the other day. It's like if I do rewatch them all, I will rewatch Black Widow. But outside of like an overall rewatch, I don't see myself revisiting that movie. Like Civil War or like Age of Ultron or Iron Man and Ant Man as well. I really like. Some of those I'll just go back as like and just watch them like just like an individual movie. Um,
Hmm.
but there's another subsection of these things like Thor 2 and Black Widow and Captain Marvel. Unfortunately, I think fits in there. Um,
Yeah, and the first
Ant Man and the
Avenger.
Wasp.
What a terrible movie.
What, the first Avenger?
Yeah, first Avenger. I can't watch it.
Wow.
I don't really
I
like it.
I love most of that movie. What I don't love is that the majority of like the best stuff takes place within a montage in the middle of the movie, like
Yeah.
um, like where Steve is developed. He's had the serum. He's done like that first mission where we rescue Bucky, and then everything between then and the third act is basically told
I
via a
just
montage.
I can't live in a world where that movie doesn't have Steve saving Bucky from the train. Him going, "Oh, you almost ripped my arm off." That's just my favorite.
Yeah, no, that is not good. And what a wasted opportunity in a what if episode to have a Winter Soldier Steve. Come on. It was right there.
He was right there. He could
It
have
was
done it.
right there. That would have been gnarly as fuck. But yeah, we end this episode very abruptly. I want to know because we don't know if any of these episodes that we've seen, some of them could possibly take place in the same universe. Like it's being presented like they're all different timelines, but maybe one
Hmm.
or two of them are in the same timeline. I don't know. But
Yeah,
what other Avengers?
because I
Because
mean, there's probably not one that takes place in the same timeline as Doctor Strange Supreme, because that
Yeah,
universe is gone. But I
and the
mean,
zombies one is probably
yeah.
its own thing, but
But
could
like T'Challa
cap
being Star Lord and the Avengers dying could happen in the same universe
that could
because they're not
happen.
really related.
Yeah, and Captain Carter could be in this universe, maybe. Um, I don't think there's anything that would
Yeah, because it's not like
contradict it.
we didn't hear anything about Captain America or really any other hero.
No, and where we are in the timeline here, all that stuff is still yet going to happen. Like
Yeah,
we haven't even got to the Incredible Hulk at this point in the timeline, right? So
yeah, because that's not till Iron Man 2.
so that's probably the events of that movie are probably happening, not long after where we see this episode. So there's probably a Hulk out there. Um, Hank Pym, we've seen how dangerous he is in one of the other episodes. Um,
Hmm.
uh, we've got I say Captain Carter, Hawkeye and Black Widow, presumably, they're around. Or they've got to be around. So what does the world look like now where we've got this we've we've narrowly avoided the war between America and Wakanda, but now Shuri and Pepper are going to have to potentially bust that whole Pandora's box wide open to kind of get justice on Killmonger and kind of bring this whole thing to the forefront, which is, you know, again some heavy political overtones there, which I'm all about. I don't want to shy away from that shit. This is the world we're living in, and what if
Yeah,
it was that world but with superheroes and
because I mean
you
that
know
stuff still exists, especially when Eric is killing Tony Stark and he says the difference between me and you is that you can't see the difference between me and you.
that was such a good line.
It was really good.
Yeah, but yeah, I want to like how does this because that's just such this episode is like the biggest cliffhanger. Like I said, some of the other episodes you feel like what happens afterwards would be more interesting or just as interesting, but you still got a story. Whereas this one is just like wide open. Like this is like that's like Back to the Future 2 level cliffhanger, man.
Hmm.
Like I really want to know where we go because shit is about to potentially hit the fan, and we could still just get a war here. You know, depending on who tries to throw the blame and how
Yeah,
how does
because at this point, Ross knows that Wakanda actually is not just some hut village in the middle of Africa. He
yeah
knows that it's like
he's
a big
scared.
city.
Yeah, so if you have like Pepper and Shuri going to like General Ross, who's like in charge of a lot of the military goings on, you know he might just want to keep. He's like, no, I ain't fucking with that shit. I ain't. We just avoided that. It's just over one dude, who's now ruling a country that wants nothing to really do with the rest of us. Or maybe
Hmm.
he does because Killmonger kind of did want to open things up that way.
Yeah,
But now he's got this extra baggage of you know I want to open up to the world, but also I kind of need to like maybe keep to myself a little bit because I'm on precarious ice with all the lies and the plot that I've built up here. So a lot of intrigue. Any final thoughts on this episode, Tyler, before we wrap this shit up?
uh, I think I really like Killmonger and everything he's in.
That suit looks sick. The slightly redesigned Black Panther suit at the end, it kind of
Yeah,
had
that still
like
has the
the
says,
bumps.
yeah,
We see
and
him do one
well,
of those as well, and man, he what a pain threshold this dude must have, right? Because
yeah,
those. those are not just little scratches. Those to
Those
scar like
are
that,
those are
he's
big
taking
scars.
he's taking a chunk out of himself every time. He doesn't even. He's just like pop, like he's opening a beer. Um, but yeah, suit looks sick.
And
Killmonger is sick.
I'm excited to see the rest of the series. We'll still got Party Thor, still got
Shit, I forgot about that.
still got to see Gamora, and her Thanos blades,
Yeah,
uh, and then Ultron with the Infinity Stones or something is gonna pop up,
yeah. So
and
those are the final.
that's probably gonna be the big threat, and where they all team up or something. As
Yeah,
the watcher gets more into not just watching.
yeah. I mean, he's gonna have to. Like, you've got Ultron with an Infinity Gauntlet, and then you've got all these. You know, it's gonna get pretty heavy. And maybe Ultron has a better plan this time with the Infinity Gauntlet than what he had in his own movie. Because I
Yeah,
was having a conversation about that today, and I love Age of Ultron. It's my favorite Avengers movie. And I started looking at that and thinking about that plot today, and I was just like, the dude has access to the internet. He can literally control the internet. He could have just released every nuke on the planet and just wiped out Earth like that, which is what he wanted, to wipe out everyone on Earth. And instead, he was like, you
instead
know what?
I should
I'm
pick
gonna
up a
stick.
city and drop it like a meteor.
I'm gonna stick rocket boosters on a continent or a country, and I'm gonna lift it up really high and then just drop it because
You
it's
know,
symbolic.
he just been born. You know, he's still a baby.
Oh man, I mean, yeah, like what version of Ultron are we getting? Is this you know, depending on what universe we're in, it's they things must have gone okay to get to the point where we still had the Avengers and Tony Stark to create Ultron. So that universe is probably relatively similar to the timeline that we know.
Mhm.
Um, as for Party Thor, we got to assume he's got to end up in the lineup, right?
Yeah,
If
he's
we're
gonna
getting
be
all these
there.
people together, because that's got to be, we got to get an arc out of Party Thor where he's, becomes, at least slightly heroic, whether by choice or because he gets forced into it. And
You just need some comic relief on the team. You know,
yeah,
everyone on the team's a little heavy right now.
yeah, I mean, T'Challa's pretty light in, Star Lord form.
Yeah,
He's pretty fun. But then we've got some really dark motherfuckers on this team as well to, so it really, I want to say balance it out, but I don't know if that's the right. I don't think there's going to be anything balanced about.
you got the infinite demon that is Strange Supreme,
Yeah,
uh, buff as heck, Peggy Carter, and the ultimate Palpatine, Killmonger.
yeah, that's dangerous, man. Like he's going to manipulate the. Right. So what are the chances that Killmonger he's going to want to take that gauntlet off of Ultron, right? He's going to want to use that to like help everyone. He's going to have good intentions. He's going to betray the rest of the team to get that gauntlet off of Ultron, and then he's going to try and do his own version of the snap. He'll do the thing that everyone says that Thanos should have done, where he, instead of eradicating half of everything, he'll want to try and double the resources so that everyone can have access to like all this technology and resources that like Wakanda has. I'm,
I think
I'm
you're onto
starting to
something.
that
I think you have a
yeah,
copy of the script.
man. You've got a copy of this week's script. I got a copy of next week's script. That's how we play this game, and that is how we're going to end this show. I swear to God, I don't have any inside information. Please don't anyone come after me. Okay, this has been episode 6 of What If. Tyler,
Episode
where can they
6.
find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Tyler Rims. That's where I post all my stream links, all my VOD links, and I retweet a bunch of anime women. Just ask Sean. He doesn't like that.
Yeah, get me at Dean Lewis 2099 on Twitter, but don't come at me, come at Sean. Everyone go tweet Sean underscore AFK and remind him that he doesn't give a shit. And that'll be it from us. This has been Oh What a Marvel. Peace out.